And welcome to Martial Mentality, a martial arts inspired podcast. I'm your host, Delmar Minor, the head instructor of the Northern Shaolin School of Kung Fu in beautiful Rock Hill, South Carolina. I've been practicing martial arts for about 21 years now. And today I have with me...
My name is Joseph Blackwelder. I'm a student here at the Northern Shaolin School of Kung Fu. I've been training about 2 years now.
And I'm Trevor Taylor. I'm a student and assistant instructor here at the Northern Shaolin School of Kung Fu, and I've been training for about 14 years now.
And guys, we would love for you to like, share, subscribe, and comment. We are on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook under the Northern Shaolin School of Kung Fu. So guys, let's get into this topic. And this one's going to be really, really fun. The advantage and disadvantage of belt systems.
Sounds controversial.
It is. It can be very controversial. So the history of a belt system. So I'm going to start with Trevor because Trevor's our historian. Trevor, if you want to know something about the martial arts, Trevor's your guy.
I don't know everything.
You don't know everything, but you know a lot. So Trevor, do you want to go ahead and get started about, I guess mainly how we see belt systems today? Just kind of give us a quick overview.
Belt systems were brought in through Japanese martial arts, specifically judo. And it was used as a military ranking system because a lot of his Jigoro Kano, the founder of judo, students, if I'm correct, and I might be wrong. So, disclaimer: if I'm wrong, don't crucify me. But
crucify him.
The different color belts represent actually different color ranks within the military and whatnot.
And another reason that Jigoro Kano actually used belts too was to help him kind of know where his students were in the curriculum that he was teaching. So going back to that martial arts curriculum, which is another podcast that you guys should check out on our channel.
That was what, 2 or 3 episodes ago?
Something like that. Either way, you should be able to find it under our listing. But going back to the belts, yeah, so it was a way to, because you think about it, when you have a large number of students, maybe you don't necessarily remember exactly where everybody is. Like, let's say if you got 100 students, right? But you color code them. You got your white belts, your orange belts, your red belts, or whatever your belt colors are. And you know what's in those particular belt rankings. You can say, oh, well, these people know this. These people know that.
So it's safe to say that it was more intended for rank versus skill. Both.
It was kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah.
More so, it's originally for judo.
Originally, yeah, right.
From what I know. So again, if we're wrong, don't crucify us, internet. But mainly just a way of just kind of saying, hey, like, this amount of material. So now I can kind of teach you this. Okay. You know this.
I've also heard stories that there was like this one school, I don't know if it's karate or taekwondo or whatever, but you would have just white belts and black belts. You didn't know if you were going up against a day one scrub like yourself, or if you're fixing to be fighting with somebody or working with someone that's fixing to have a black belt.
Yeah, there was a lot of times, like, I guess before, you get into all the different multicolors, like you said, you're right. You hear a lot of old military guys say, when they would go train, it was like, white and black belt. So, but the white belt you were going against, you didn't know if that guy been training 16, 17 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He could have been training 16 years, but he just walked through the door here.
Right. Yeah, you never know. Or the fact is that maybe he's been training and he's not quite a quote unquote black belt. And he's still a white belt or whatever the belt color may be.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's not skilled. He just doesn't have the belt color around his waist.
Right.
So, but either way. So yeah. And basically what you started to see is Jigoro Kano's concept start to kind of bleed over into other martial arts systems. Particularly, karate started to adopt it, taekwondo, kung fu, and now you see a lot of other styles use belt systems in order to kind of show rank and show skill.
Right, it's kind of the standard now. I haven't really ever seen any schools that, like, at least martial arts schools specifically, like I think like some of the MMA gyms, like they don't really. I've seen some that don't really do it, but
you met Sifu Panico, haven't you?
I'm not sure.
Long white hair, looks like.
Oh, yep. I know you're
does
talking
Hungar?
About. Yeah.
They don't
do belts?
No.
No.
Your belt is one color.
Yeah.
They wear we're talking about a gentleman. His name is Rick Panico. He has a school in Mooresville, North Carolina. They do Hungar. So shout out to them. And the way they do their system is, everybody wears the same colored belt,
Mhm.
because they have a uniform.
Yeah.
You get a piece of paper for every part of the curriculum you
Yeah.
complete.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
they,
Yeah. I
they
like
kind
that.
of do like novice, beginner,
Right.
So on and so
intermediate,
forth.
advanced,
Right.
stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So they kind of do it in that way. So there's different ways to do it. However, what you normally have seen people do nowadays and has become more commercial is the belt system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what, when people think about martial arts, that's what has become the norm. That's why you always hear people go, "You a black belt,"
Mm-hmm.
because everybody thinks black is the highest.
Yeah.
For some it is, some it's not.
Right.
I think the one that really differentiates itself is like a jujitsu, right? Or isn't it blue like
no.
their top?
Yeah, no. It's
No.
black.
Am I wrong?
Black is their top.
Black, and
Black
then
is
there's
their
a
top.
black and red or something like
Yeah.
Okay.
that. Eagle Claw goes backwards. You get a black sash starting out. When you
Interesting.
finish, you have a white belt.
That's interesting.
Especially so a lot of the schools up in like the Eagle Claw schools up in New York specifically, I can think of.
And
do
so this kind of shows you, so really, when you really think about belt system, it just kind of depends on your school, because some schools don't necessarily even, like we talked about with Sifu Panico School, they don't adhere to a belt system in that respect.
It seems school specific because even like if you split it up between say kung fu types of kung fu or karate, one karate school versus the next karate school can have different colors,
different colors, different
belt
belts,
systems.
what they mean, everything, right? So when you talk about an advantage and a disadvantage of a belt system, I mean, the advantage is you kind of know where everybody is based on your curriculum. So you kind of can look out and go, oh, okay, well, these are white belts, so they probably know this, or these are, blue belts, they know this.
Or you know what they need to be starting on.
Or right, or you know what material. So as a teacher, it kind of helps you be able to organize better. But if you don't have a belt system, I have seen that it can be good in some respects because it kind of keeps everybody on the same playing field in some respects. They don't get caught up in that ranking, system. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a black belt, so that means you have to listen to me.
I feel like personally, and I don't have the most room to talk here. Just now getting my feet wet, a couple years into martial arts, but it seems like that is one of the biggest drawbacks of it is, that ego kind of thing that comes with it, which shouldn't, because like here, humble hearts, fearless fists.
Right, exactly.
It's not about you don't got to go boasting. You should show through your actions versus like, hey, I'm top at the top, kind of thing.
Well, you know what? Think about how we even do here at the Northern Shaolin School of Kung Fu. We have a belt system.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing has changed multiple times, I can attest.
I mean, they do evolve. Once again, going back to that martial arts curriculum podcast, you got to check it
I was
out.
about to say, here it seems like the belt system is, you say this too, definitely skill related. It's how long your skill, but ultimately it also seems like curriculum related.
Mm-hmm.
It should be.
Like we didn't do testing at one point. It was like, I remember I was a yellow sash for God knows how long. All of a sudden he came in one day and threw my green sash at me and said, "Here you go." I'm like, thank you.
If they're a certain color belt, they should know these sets.
They should,
these
right.
forms.
Should.
And aside from the forms, it's like if you get up into like the later belts, we go over basics all the time because basics are everything, but they should know how to throw a 1-2 or a front
right,
kick.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
If anybody does, your higher level sashes or belts or whatever your martial arts system is, should know how to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, and I guess I'll talk about my experience later. I've done the whole not doing a belt system training and then doing a belt system training. I've done both. So I've seen the advantages and disadvantages of both. And what I personally like here, we have one, but I don't make you guys wear. I mean, if you want to wear it, fine. But we don't make you wear it. One, because what happens with people, especially like kids,
They get too caught up on that.
they are just obsessed with it.
Right. And I have not seen it at all here, but I can imagine that kids and adults like.
I mean, everyone likes the gold star to know that they're doing well.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Of course. To me, it's like milestones.
They are.
It's a good thing. Now I have came across like people before in the past where probably haven't trained, and they could have been lying through their teeth, or maybe they were being honest. But the whole thing about like, oh, I've got a black belt and whatever, and there is usually like older person. This exact event I'm referring to, but it's like, like he's saying that to intimidate, and it's like, well, what are you doing now? Like,
Right, exactly. Are you the black belt now?
Right. You were. Right.
Exactly.
You had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Right.
think about it. Now you go into the skill portion. See, now you think about the skill.
Right.
Okay, yes, you are a black belt. But now we're saying, okay, are you truly a black belt? Do you still have that skill that you had
Right.
20
That
years
skill,
ago?
and I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like a character thing too.
It can be. It should
It
be.
should be. I feel like it should be. Like if you got people out there boasting about it, like you clearly didn't get. You may have the skill. I'm not saying you don't have the skill. You may have the skill, but you didn't get taught the character points. you know?
Well, and that goes back to, and this is a completely different podcast topic we need to talk about. For, the whole aspect of, good character and being a good person and all that.
We could talk plenty about
I
that.
like
Oh, yes.
The reason part of the reason I brought it up is because like you've said this before, if you want to learn to fight, you can go hit a gym like and just learn them skills. But like kung fu as a whole seems it's fighting, but it's more it's a lifestyle kind of thing.
Well,
There's a lot
to kind of, tangent a little bit. I mean, what you're starting to see now, especially more so in the 20th and 21st century, martial arts started to take a turn to develop better character, develop better people. We,
right. Shows people respect.
right. Well, I mean,
because that's what we're lacking in the world.
Well, exactly. And
Right.
martial arts is, Trevor can attest to this. We've talked about this a lot. There's a lot of gang culture.
Well, you got to think about like back when there was when they were trying to formalize the whole school. That's how you got the Guoshu Institute and the Jingwu thing. They're trying to bring this whole cultural aspect, which it's already in the martial arts, but they're really trying to bring this whole like we're trying to be good at standing people. When 90% of people who do martial arts, they were
They're
security guards,
Triad,
gangsters,
yeah.
The people that
Just
needed to
not-
fight,
right.
just not
Yeah.
soldiers. like-
just not overall great people.
Right. 'Cause
Right,
you think about it. If I want a guy protecting me, I mean, no offense, give me the baddest, nastiest.
Give me
killer
somebody
that,
who's actually used that
you
to
can
kill somebody.
Yeah,
Right.
that I'm like, that guy, don't mess with that guy.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that doesn't always have good character.
Right. Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
That makes a lot of sense. Like the character, it in reality, like it doesn't showcase your fighting skill.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Right.
But now, what you kind of have started to see, and this kind of goes back to the whole belt system thing,
Mhm.
is that teachers started to take the concept that Jigoro Kano had and started to say, you know what, I can use this to make money.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And then it's also a good way to, let's say overall you have let's say you have a whole system that encompasses both basic, skill training, forms, weapons, internal stuff, etc. You kind of need a way to categorize it if you want to be able to make it make sense to maybe people who won't understand the whole idea of you're just learning this as a whole versus, all right, we're going to teach you this little chunk. You get this for it. So on and so forth.
But here's another thing too. I mean, let's think about, okay, let's take your own son. What motivates River?
Mm.
What motivates him?
It's definitely not the belts yet.
Well, I'm just
But I
talking
don't
about
think
in
he knows
general.
enough about it.
What about in general? Just what motivates
In
him?
general, he probably just wants to have fun.
He wants to have fun.
Right
Okay.
now, the age he's at,
All
that's
right.
what I would assume.
He wants to have fun.
And this is not a conceited thing, but I feel like he does look up to me. Like I can tell he pays attention to what I do.
Okay.
and he's into what I'm into, which
So those things motivate him. What I've seen from River too is River likes that reward. He likes that praise too.
right. He loves to win.
He likes to win. So
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
about the belt system. When you get that new belt, guess what that is in a kid's mind?
You won something.
You
I
want
won.
something, yeah.
I'm rewarded. I did something good.
Right.
Look at
Look
me.
what I did. Look at me. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Sifu says I'm this, I'm that. Dad says I'm this. I must be that because I've got this belt to showcase that I am what they say I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
Now you can be completely lying to this kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And you may be giving them something.
Sell them the belt.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening unfortunately, you have a lot of schools that are selling the belts.
Right. And that's one of the controversy points. I was like, I'm sure we're going to get to it, and I'm not trying to get too far off topic, but like, you know, I don't believe give kids black belts
No, never.
No.
because a kid, they're like, I got this belt, and now a kid, I've got this black belt, don't mess with me. And like, this is a kid. Like, that does not mean you can go mess with an adult
That's right.
and fight them.
This isn't Three Ninjas.
Exactly. You don't want to inspire like false confidence.
Trevor, you're aging yourself because half the kids who are watching this don't even know what Three Ninjas are.
Hold on, I'm gonna age myself even more. Kwansu dudes.
I grew up on that movie too.
You know that?
Oh yeah.
So
Moto surf.
so we are old. These references come from Three Ninjas, which was a 90s martial arts movie. If you haven't watched it, it actually is a good watch with your kids. And then Surf Ninjas that has Ernie Reyes Jr. in it, which for those of you who don't know, he was Keno in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
He was also
Oh.
Donatello in the first one.
Yes, he was Donatello.
Oh,
he was
cool.
He was the stunt actor for the Donatello, and
Nice.
yeah. Which is funny because I remember watching that movie random, and I was always, now that I'm older, I'm like, man, Donatello's the best martial artist on here.
He really is.
He's really good, and
Yeah.
it was Ernie Reyes Jr.
Interesting.
Daniel Pacino was one of them too. I
Was
don't
he?
remember which one. I want to say he might have been Mikey.
And to really go back in time a little bit, The Last Dragon. Anybody remember The Last Dragon? So do you remember in The Last Dragon? No, Trevor does. You remember
I
the
do.
little Asian boy?
Yeah, that's Ernie.
That's Ernie Reyes Jr.
Oh,
Yeah, he's been
He
in
was
a lot of
what?
movies.
He's probably
Okay.
what, 10, 12, maybe
Something like
younger.
that.
I'll have
Yeah.
to look into that.
And he was
I'll have to
also
watch some
in.
of
You ever watched another movie called The Rundown
these. Nope.
with
Yeah.
The Rock? He's in that movie.
No,
too.
actually, no. I've not seen that one.
Yeah, he's in that movie. Anyway,
Let's talk about another movie. The Last.
No. We are not talking about that movie. Nope. So, going back to our topic. So again, so let's look at like sashes in kung fu. So a lot of times, what you've seen in a lot of kung fu is that yes, like your uniform may require a sash, but like the sash actually had a purpose.
Mm.
It wasn't necessarily
Number
just
one, to hold your pants up.
hold your pants, but also you could hide weapons in it,
hmm
and
Another way to train the Dantian as well.
back support too.
Just kind of like when you see people wearing that belt for.
Like it's like a
Slots and stuff.
resistance band that you wear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know. So nowadays it's become a an aspect of rank and things like that. But you know, a lot of times, I mean, and I'll tell you this, like when I first started training, we didn't have a belt system. It was just come and train.
Yeah.
You just come and train.
That's kind of how it was for us too. I mean, you had one, but we didn't really go off that.
No, and honestly, like a lot of my teachers didn't necessarily like follow a curriculum. They just taught you, it was just like, oh, you're gonna learn this today. Okay, well, I'm gonna do what Sifu says to do.
That's kind of
Right.
how it was. We come into class, you're doing praying mantis today. Okay.
I like.
Come into class, you're doing something else the next
I
day.
think that's something you still have because that's another thing I like about this school is every time I come in and now I'm not the newest student, but we if one of the newer people are like, what are we doing today? I don't know. It's always a
That's-
surprise.
that's
and I
really
like that.
Kind of
Yeah.
what it was like, especially when it was just, a handful of us in here. Hey, Steve, what are we doing today? I don't know. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
I like that. There's a lot of areas you can work on.
Oh my gosh, you can-
always.
And then we'd spend
There's
2.5
some-
hours just either beating the snot out of each other or doing forms or T-toy or whatever.
Well, okay. Oh, think about it like this. So, when you have a belt system, the advantage of having the belt system is categorization. It's great. The disadvantage is, in some respects, well, when you have one. So let me give you a disadvantage of having a belt system where this is still a positive and a negative. Sometimes, like especially when you start putting time limits on,
Mm-hmm.
when
Yeah.
you should be getting this.
Right.
That means that you may have to fast track, depending on the time limit, certain things that maybe you don't get a chance to spend a lot of time on. Like tonight, we spent 2 hours on one kicking combination that we were doing, one T-toy drill.
Joe, I can attest that there was plenty of nights where we just did T-toy.
Yeah.
That's all we did.
That was it. You know?
Right.
And when you train like that, me personally, I prefer to train like that because it's like cooking. Okay.
Mhm.
Good greens, they take time. Like
Mhm.
you don't want to fast track something that is supposed to take a long time to cook.
Yep.
So because you don't get the seasoning and stuff like that. And martial arts should kind of be like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Mhm.
When we were just talking about how your school, it closely relates to curriculum. Like we have a set list of forms that you need to learn on this belt and this belt and this belt, but behind those forms is how to use them.
Right.
And if we just did the forms just because you said so, you could fly through that thing, but you shouldn't.
Right. Exactly.
You shouldn't, because you need to learn why you're doing it, how to apply it, and coming here week after week, it should, you're training a lot of kung fu comprises a lot of things. So
And what's happened, and Trevor can attest to this, is that you just come. A lot of people come in class and they go, "Oh, I just need to learn that. Okay, I'm just going to learn it."
mhm,
Okay, well,
Mhm.
all right, well, show me how to use it.
right.
You know,
Or when it's time, like we had with the recent group that went through testing. Hey, show us this. Can you do it together?
right? Stuff
Mhm.
like that. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
because so in order to really like know something and get good at something, you're gonna have to take the time. And why traditional martial arts has somewhat become antique in today's society is that it does take time.
Mhm.
And that because it takes time in order to kind of understand the concepts and get ready to use it sometimes for combat for some people.
Right.
Some people can get it quickly, but
Yep.
MMA and certain other styles have fast tracked that. Oh, we're just going to show you some good basic techniques,
Mhm.
how to combo those things, and you're going to be able to use this quickly.
Right.
And that's not bad.
Mhm.
It's just a different way of learning.
And that kind of goes back to one of our topics is like, why is it easier to get belts maybe in one martial art style versus Kung Fu or another? And I like to think of that with Kung Fu is the fact that, I mean, I remember from day one, you were kind of, it felt like you were just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what stick. Then you kept throwing more and it stuck a little bit more. Whereas with some other stuff, it might be very simplistic. It's like, do this. Okay, now that you got this, we can move on to that. So on and so forth.
You normally see that with a lot more Okinawan, Japanese, Korean style of martial arts where there is a systematic approach to how you do things.
Mhm.
You do this, then you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this.
And Kung Fu does have that systematic approach, but it's I feel like it's kind of looking ahead more at the bigger picture versus zooming in on minute details.
I think one way to kind of describe learning Chinese martial arts sometimes can be, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do algebra. But wait, I don't know how to add and subtract and divide yet.
You'll figure it out.
You're going to figure that out, and I'm going to teach you that, but this is the algebraic equation,
Mhm.
and we're going to go ahead and start working on this now. And it's going to take you longer to figure it out in some respects,
Mhm.
but once you figure it out, you'll be able to figure out anything.
Yeah, and you'll never forget it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
It's like
that
the light bulb. This goes.
that process maybe takes longer,
Mm.
and
Right.
I've seen a lot of people teach that way. And then you have the other aspect where it's like, you're going to learn just numbers right now.
Mm-hmm. Would you
Mhm.
say your first Kung Fu teacher was more like that? Just kind of threw it at you and said, "You'll figure it out."
Yeah,
at some point.
he would. Yeah, Keone would definitely just, Keone Sifu would just throw stuff in there. He'd just be like, "Yeah, you're gonna learn this." Like it was not like, "Oh, you're gonna learn Lamacho because that's stance work, and then you're gonna learn this because that's that, and this because that." Not like how we're kind of doing it now.
Mhm.
It was kind of like, "Yeah, you're gonna learn this form." What? I don't know how to do that. Well, just follow me, and I'm gonna show you applications. You're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you just, but when you learn like that, then you kind of start to not be so intimidated by things because you can kind of say, okay, well, I can figure it out.
Mhm.
I'll understand it. Now that took a while to get to that point,
Yeah.
but most people don't learn like that. They have to learn in steps. So that's why you probably see people who do like karate, well, they'll start out with a very, very simple kata or just basic techniques and kihon and things like that, and then move up from there. While it's like somebody who's doing kung fu, you're like, you want me to do what? You want me to do a tornado kick?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not able to do a tornado kick. Not now, but you will.
Right.
You won't figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in some respects, learning kung fu like that can be like life, because there are some times in life where you don't get a chance to stair step.
Yeah, I've seen that in this school. Some new students, like depending on what day they show up, you'll walk them through some of what you provide here, what you do, and then like their next visit, or it could be the next time they visit or the time after, it's like, we're sparring today, and they're like, what? And it's like, it kind of shows that, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what like, you never know when the fight may come to you.
Yeah, and you got to be able to,
and that also applies to like the belt system. It's like, you learn this form, but like, okay, we're going to spar, and like, you're going to learn how to use it.
Right. Or you should learn how to use it.
Right.
Stop.
In a self
Because there's plenty of places that just throw something at you and then like, okay, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Quick thing, and then we're going to commercial break. Quick story. We were at Quotient one year, and there was a school. Trevor remembers this school story.
I do remember this story.
And they were doing.
We were with Sifu Othel, weren't we?
Mm-hmm.
What, shout out to Sifu Othel.
And one thing about Sifu Othel that I respect and really look up to the man is that he knows how to use his praying mantis.
I trained with him for about a year and a half.
Yes.
Like, that man knows praying mantis inside and out. It's ridiculous.
He really does. He's really good at it. And so, we hit it off because he's showing me things. He's talking to me, and I'm going, okay, all right, yeah, I get that concept. Okay, you're showing me this concept. Oh, that's why I do that. Da 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 da. And then Trevor trained with him for a while too. So, I was able to share stuff with Trevor, and Trevor was able to share stuff with me. And so I got a better understanding of praying mantis, even if I didn't know all the forms, the concepts, and why things happen. So it was like, oh, okay, I get it. Well, there was a group doing, Bung Bu, and Bung Bu is a famous form. A lot of different styles practice Bung Bu, crushing step. Sifu Othel basically was like, we were just talking about application. And he's like, watch this. So he goes over to them. They're practicing. They look good. And he goes, well, why did you do this technique?
Shall I show the technique? Because I remember it.
You can show it. Yeah. So that's what they did.
That's literally what they did. And where I was kind of like,
we're like, what is that? These students had no idea.
And they even brought their Sifu over, and their Sifu
didn't know.
Say anything.
So again, what's the point of doing this set of martial arts techniques that you don't know how to use? You just look good doing them.
Right.
So now, is that even, wow, So
well,
now, yeah, exactly. So there you go. Bingo. So now you got somebody like yourself. You want to learn martial arts. You go, why would I learn that? You don't even know what you're doing. You're just dancing.
Yeah.
I want to go do that. They punching and kicking people over there. They're throwing people.
Yeah.
So guess what? I'm going to learn that.
Yeah.
And so now there's a whole generation of people who have learned martial arts systems, who have gotten belts, black belts, because they mimicked.
Or been given the rank of, instructor or whatever.
Instructor, Sifu, whatever, however. And that teacher says they can teach, but they don't know how to dissect material. And so now they can't use what they've learned, and they can't teach people how to use this.
Yeah.
So,
And I'll say you've been very lucky, and through you, we've been lucky. The fact that your teachers were very much like, this is how you use this.
Oh yeah. That was
right.
That was Keone Everington. That was his main. When he taught you a set, you better be prepared to sit there for the next 3-4 hours, because he was going to teach you how to use every single move.
I can attest to that, because he would come when you were still with him. He would come every other year, or like once a year?
Well, that was when he moved to Taiwan
Yeah.
or Beijing, one of the two. I don't remember where he was.
Well, one time he came back, he was coming from Beijing. The other time he came back, he came from Taiwan.
Yeah.
So, and we were here till 2 a.m. one time.
Yeah, that's how he taught.
Well, I don't know if it was the right way to explain it or not, but I feel when you learn that way, you tend to kind of respect your art more. Like when you break it down, you know why you're doing it. You take it slow. You do it right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel
No,
like you
No.
appreciate it more,
you do.
and you're better at it.
You do. You do. You do. So, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break and then we'll be right back because we got bills to pay. And hey, guys, listen up. We want to shout out another school, the United Martial Arts Kung Fu Academy. And the teacher there, or Sifu, is Sifu Josh Myers. And I met Sifu Josh at the CACMA Fall Classic a few years ago. He started bringing his school and students, and they are phenomenal. They're actually located in Jacksonville, North Carolina, which I never knew there was a Jacksonville, North Carolina. So
I didn't either.
yeah, there is. So they are located at 125A Henderson Drive, Jacksonville, North Carolina, 28540. And phone number is 910-934-0496. And you can find them on Facebook. I'm sure they're on Instagram. And they're just an awesome group. Again, we want to make sure that we shout out our local Kung Fu academies. And United Martial Arts Kung Fu Academy is a phenomenal school. They teach real martial arts. I have seen their students. They are amazing.
Students are top notch.
Sifu Josh is a great instructor, an overall great man. Check him out. And we are back. Joe, let me ask you a question because we've talked about this before. You said one day you would like to be able to, you want to teach, self-defense, self-protection, things of that nature.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you this question because I'm curious about your mindset on this. Do you need a belt system to run a martial arts school?
The first and quick answer is, in my own opinion, again, I feel like I'm still getting my feet wet in this. But no, I don't think you need one.
Okay.
Why? Well, it depends what you're teaching, too. And if you're strictly speaking in self-defense, if people want to just come in there and learn how to defend themselves, out in the world, they may not need to concern themselves with like a belt system. They just need to learn the skills. And you've said this before too, that you can learn some pretty good skills in a pretty quick time frame.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It doesn't take 20 years for you just to learn how to defend yourself out in the street. You get in there and you put in the work, you can learn some good skills in a matter of, no time, like a few months, you'll feel a lot better. But now it just depends though. Like, are you doing this for sport? Are you doing this for the long term? Is it something you're interested in? For me personally, like with Kung Fu, it's the lifestyle kind of thing. It's more than just the fighting. It's how you live, like your health, your mental well-being. And, I think, again, we've talked about advantages, but I think just to open up a school and run it, it's not 100% necessary to have a belt system. That's my take on it.
Trevor, since now you're in the process of, technically you've opened up a school and you're doing a lot of online training with your students.
Speaking of that, I might have another one here soon.
No, that's good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel you need a belt system to run your school?
Overall, no, because I know what the curriculum entails. I know where someone should be at after a certain point, but it's good. Kind of like you, I'm kind of now noticing this myself now that I'm actually teaching and whatnot. It's good to know where they're at, because there'll be times where it's like, for instance, working with some of the team snaps, like, hey, Davion, what belt did you? So that way I know, all right, what you need to be working on or what we need to be making sure you're getting next.
Right.
It's good for certain things, but like we've said previously, too many people get hung up on that versus actually really taking the material and internalizing it and learning it inside and out and being able to use it versus be like, oh, I have my black belt. Da, 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 da.
Right.
I can do all this stuff, but it's like, yeah, you couldn't fight your way out of a wet paper bag.
Right.
I'll rephrase one part from my answer as well. Now, if later down the road and I stick with this and do this for a long time and say I dipped my, I've like studied a little bit of outside of just the Kung Fu. Like if I did it for a long time and I wanted to open up a school and say just this style of Kung Fu or say karate, something like that, maybe I would use a belt system.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a little different. I'm teaching sets and step by step, like we just talked about. However, the reason I said no was because in my vision, if I'm going to teach, it would be strictly probably a self-defense school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come here, become a member, and we'll teach you how to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I may not be teaching forms, and
Mhm.
I may include that, but it's not strictly just this style martial art. If
Right.
that makes sense.
Or you may decide to create your own forms that are specific to whatever your self-defense curriculum may be.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
how forms and patterns and katas, that's how they're created.
One of the biggest
Mhm.
things you say here, and I love that, is you teach what works. So you pick out of the sets, like you pick this stuff because it works, not just because you think it looks cool or it's flashy or whatever the case may be. If it doesn't work, why show it?
Why show it?
Right.
Why practice it?
Right.
And that's the thing, with a lot of training more traditional style martial arts, because a lot of times we do things and we're never told why, how does this build on this, or what does this do? I met a lot of teachers like that. They just say, do it. Well, why? Well, because my teacher did it. Okay,
Mhm.
well, maybe I need to know so I can actually be able to use this when I need it.
All right. Wax on, wax off.
Exactly.
Show me.
Exactly.
Show me.
That's a great example. The
Right.
Karate Kid, when he's training Daniel's son,
Mhm.
and he's just like, clean the fence. What? Wax the fence. What you want me to
Paint
what?
the house.
Paint the house? Why?
Sand the floor.
Now,
Thinks it's pointless. Then
I get the
block.
there's
Works.
another mindset attached to that. No,
And even though it's kind of like overplayed, there are plenty of teachers who probably did teach similar to that
oh yeah,
Mhm.
back in the
definitely.
day.
Well, I mean, it's also going to develop there's some of that character building, some of that humbleness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Repetition.
Are you going to, if I tell you to do something, are you going to listen?
Mhm.
Are you going to question?
Are you going to take like the criticism too? Like when we talk about the kids in here, I feel like a lot of the issues lie in the fact that they aren't able to do stuff the first try.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way life is. Like some things take dedication and years of
Well,
practice.
that also comes with the whole, we live in a society nowadays where everyone's a winner.
Oh yeah,
Instant
oh, no.
gratification.
Yeah, you can't
Yes.
lose.
Yeah.
You can't lose. You can't
Oh
be
yeah, show up and
subpar.
win. Yeah.
Like I saw a video
Show
of
up,
this
get a
kid,
trophy.
and like he was at a wrestling tournament or something, and he got fourth. It was basically like a participation trophy, and he threw it. He throws it at the trash. He's walking out. His dad's like, "What did you say?" He's like, "I lost." He's like, "Is what it is."
Well, and
Right.
okay, so a great example
Jeez.
tonight, right? So the kids are
Yeah.
doing their point sparring, and we have one of the little girls. She gets hit in the face. She had to take a little break. She turned around. She even started to cry, but she didn't give up.
Yep.
She said, "Oh, that hurts, but
Let me finish it.
I'm gonna finish.
Mhm. See it
I'm
through."
good." Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's something that a lot of people don't develop nowadays. If it's like, oh, it's too hard, well, I'm not gonna do it.
Yep, it's too hard. That's you hear that so much.
That's
now,
too hard.
and it's a shame. It's pathetic. Like maybe pathetic is not the word. Like sure, some things are difficult, but like
Pathetic is the
keep-
right word.
Keep going.
No, pathetic.
You know?
Yeah, pathetic.
It
is the right
is
word.
pathetic
Yeah.
because guess what? If you're having some issues getting through some of these small challenges now, life is going to kick your behind.
Yeah. What happens when
Mhm.
it's something that's in your face that's not going to go away?
Exactly.
That's not going to go away. This could be physical, mental, whatever. I'm not just talking about a person fighting you. Like what happens when there's a situation in your life that is unavoidable unless you change it.
You have to
That's
deal
what
with
you
it.
get with all these kids who are very sheltered nowadays, and it's like, nah, people need to grow up understanding that not everyone's gonna like you.
Yeah.
Not everyone's gonna agree with your opinion.
And no one's
Stuff
coming
like
to
that.
save you.
That too.
Right. Right. Which is why, to let me answer this question, but I want to come back to what you just said. So basically, do you need a belt system to run a martial arts school? Yes and no. So if you have a belt system, it is great for marketing.
Mm,
It is good for categorization. It is good to help you, especially as a teacher, kind of organize.
Progress tracking.
It is progress tracking, and it's a great motivation tool for younger people. But it can also be especially for Americans, because we're used to we're a reward based society.
Mhm.
I do this, I get this. I do this, I get this. I do this, therefore I know that when I get a different belt color, I'm progressing. So therefore I'm more motivated. So
It's like unlock the next level in a video game.
yeah, it kind of has a gaming quality to it. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I want
It's
that.
the next level.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
I want to go to the next level. However, the bad part of that can be when sometimes teachers feel the pressure of trying to retain students. And so for myself, all of you guys know that I don't give out belts. I've got people here who've been white sashes for years or yellow sashes for years.
And you don't even give the white sash when they got to earn the white
They
sash.
got to earn the white. You
Yeah.
got to earn the white
You gotta
sash,
earn
you
it.
know?
That's right.
And, like one of the children tonight got promoted to white sash. And then mom was like, oh, so because we have the curriculum on the board, she was like, oh, so those set of forms and things like that and techniques or whatever, you're going to have to do that before you get to the next one. And we were going through it. And I was like, yes. He's like, that's good. Yes. So knowing that her son will have something to work for.
Yeah.
And what happens to a lot of people is, is interesting because normally you would think most people would be like, oh, well, I didn't get my next sash, so I want to quit. But what I've actually seen is even if they're not working towards the sashes, they're still getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
especially with the teenagers, because it's interesting because I'm watching all of them. And just to be honest, most of them do not like doing forms. They
No.
They
like
do
to
not
fight.
like it. Oh yeah, they'll spar all day.
They do like to fight.
They'll beat the crap out of each other.
I mean,
And-
we are the Northern Shaolin School of disqualification.
yes,
You can see those lights turn on when you say, "What form did you just use?" And that-
Exactly. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Wow. But what's funny? Like I'm watching them improve, and their martial arts are getting better. But they may not necessarily be interested in following the curriculum that I've set.
Mm.
And so it's kind of interesting to see that because I feel like I'm getting the best of both worlds. I'm like, well, they're getting better. Granted, they're not learning what I want them to learn all the way through, or they may be going through it like severely slowly.
Mhm.
Where it's just kind of like, oh, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. But I think they all in their mind understand like, hey, I got better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that.
Right.
If
If I could add one quick point to what you're saying, Kung Fu specifically, hard work over time. With this style, or at least with your school, you don't expect to come in here and blow through those belts. It's just not going to happen. It takes whether you're good or not, you're going to train a while. It's going to take time, and it takes constant work before you're going to earn that.
yeah, it should.
It should.
And it doesn't matter what you do.
Mhm.
I mean, let's look at other athletes. Michael Jordan didn't become Michael Jordan overnight.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Right.
It took him years
Right.
to become Michael Jordan.
Right. And I don't know the guy personally, right? But let me just say this, like, people would attest and say that it took years from this point. Well, where's that point? Is that when he was 18, 20?
Right. You don't know.
He was probably balling when he was a kid. He had the
Exactly.
love for it at a very
Mhm.
early age.
Right. Exactly.
And wanted to get better at it.
right.
So
Right. And
hard work over time.
Yeah, that kung fu.
Right.
But when you look at people like some real life examples of different martial artists, like let's use him. I'm gonna use his name, Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
Okay,
of course.
let's use Bruce. Everybody's like, oh, well, Bruce is a master.
Mm,
Well, everybody based Bruce on being a master because of his skills and
mhm.
what he could do and what he showed. If you really look at it, Bruce didn't have any belts in anything from what I know.
Bruce
Right.
never even finished his training in Wing Chun.
No, I don't think he ever,
He never fought like competitions, did he?
not that I know of. I
Not
know
that. That's what I'm saying.
he
Even if
had one
did,
boxing match, I think, as a child.
right. If he did, I didn't know about it. I didn't hear about it. And trust me, I'm not knocking anything. I'm just saying, like, at that time when he got very popular, the media that's out now, people are watching UFC and stuff. That's
Mhm.
what they're relating good fighting to.
Oh yeah, of
Back
course.
then, it was different. They saw him, that blew their minds. And
Right.
It still blows minds.
He was
today.
different.
Exactly.
He was
Exactly.
different. He was
Skilled in his
athletic.
art.
Yes, he was very athletic. He
Yeah.
was very fast. He was strong. And you're right. He was very good about keeping the right people around him.
Yeah.
He had a lot of high influential friends. Because a lot of people don't understand that Bruce Lee was a child actor.
Right.
He was an
Right.
actor from a young age. So
Right.
he was really good about selling himself.
Yeah.
Anyway, but like, you know, you look at somebody like,
so regardless of a belt, it's like they seen that and like he's good.
oh, he's good. He's the man.
He's the man.
He's
the
a master. Yeah,
Right.
he's the master.
Right.
You know, and you look at a lot of UFC fighters nowadays. I mean, you know, some of them have black belts in certain disciplines, but some of them just can fight.
Right.
Yeah.
They I don't know if they still do it, but like a few years back, I think they still do, but like they'll say background and they'll say they did such and such or they have black belt and such. They've had people come on there that said he just likes to fight. You know,
I think
and they
I've
would
heard that a few
win.
times.
Like they'll go in there and win.
Yeah.
You know, like so we could probably relate that to a few of these questions coming up.
I mean, yeah. So Trevor,
Yeah.
let me ask you this then. So, would you say has the belt system that you've been a part of affected your training?
I'd say yes, because I've been on both sides where we really didn't have one. And then when you got around to your second teacher, we kind of had a more solidified, this is what we're doing. All right, this is now I know where I'm at, what I'm looking at as I'm going to progress through material and stuff like that. But I mean, so yeah, overall, I guess it has affected my training in some way because at one point it was very freeform. Oh, we're doing this, like we said, we're doing this today. You're doing that today. Hey, not only you be learning this, you're gonna be learning this too, at the same time.
What about you, Joe?
I'd say hands down it's affected me because let's see how I'm going to word this. Like if I just wanted to learn like what I was talking about teaching, like self-defense, you know,
You could go do Krav Maga or something.
yeah, I could go do something else or join a different gym, or I could probably just leave. Like I've learned a lot of like, you know, the mental aspects and everything, even with the military background, like, you know, I could stop, you know, and I'd feel okay. But I look at it more like the long term. That's what it means. Hard work over time. So it kind of gives me something to set my sights on in a way, you know,
Motivation factor.
it's a motivation factor. And even though, like, I understand the two different points, right? Your belt color is not going to save you when trouble hits.
Right.
Mhm.
It's your skill. But at the same time, when you're coming here to train and you're here for the long haul, it's like it gives you that motivation. It's like, okay, what am I going to learn next? Because that's the other aspect of the Kung Fu we're learning is that there's always room for improvement.
Always.
So
Mhm.
knowing that, why would I stop?
So I like to, you know, and I say this all the time. The belt should be excuse me, let me say it right. The belt or sash should be a byproduct of your skill.
Mm.
Mhm.
So
a good
when
way to
you're
look at it.
training, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, guess what you're gonna get?
You're gonna get the belt.
You'll get the
Eventually.
belt, you'll get
Eventually
the
you're gonna
sash, you'll
them.
get it because you're training.
Right.
Because that's your mindset. And I'll tell you a quick story about me. I had to develop that mindset because, when I started teaching, I was kind of, we didn't really have a belt system. So how do you tell a person, or how do you showcase yourself to somebody that you're trying to teach? You have to have some skill.
Mhm.
You have to showcase that I know what I'm talking about. Let me show you that I know what I'm talking about. So, you look at individuals like, going back to Bruce Lee or going back to, let's see who else that we have here, that Jet Li. Jet Li's a great example.
Mhm.
You have people who don't necessarily have belts in something. However, when you watch them, you go, man, that guy's good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you don't fake those moves.
You can't-
You can't.
You
fake
can't
those
fake that.
You can't fake
right.
skill.
You
That's
can't
right.
fake
That's
that. That
right.
guy's good,
Yeah,
man.
I'm a big Jet Li fan.
Yeah, Jet's the man.
Yeah.
Or Donnie Yen. I don't know if Donnie
Yeah.
has any
There's a
belt sashes or anything, but still.
God, his name's gonna escape me now. There's a Muay Thai fighter. He's an actor.
Tony
Tony
Jaa.
Jaa.
Tony Jaa. Yeah, he's awesome
Tony
too.
Jaa is-
He's-
Michael Jai White.
That's one of my favorites right there.
Well, here's
He
the
is
thing
bad.
about-
he's a bad.
Here's the thing
dude.
about Michael Jai White, though. Michael Jai White actually has, ranked up in a lot of different martial arts. And we actually have that information here. He does Kyokushin, Goju, Shotokan, Taekwondo,
Right.
Tang Sudo, Kobudo, Wushu,
You can tell even through watching. Like again, I've never met the guy, but it's like even through watching and like reading up on him, it's like he lives for this kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I
he's
mean,
good.
before he was an actor, he was fighting in circuits and stuff.
And and that's one thing that that's why I love Michael Jai White, because you can go and you can find, granted, he may not be fighting full contact fights, but you can find him sparring in tournaments.
But I mean, back in the day, what he was doing, I mean, that pretty much was full contact. He came up in the 80s, did he not?
I think 80s,
90s,
something like that. Yeah, and you're right. The contact was a lot heavier back then.
I mean, they weren't
Karate
wearing
was all the rage
they weren't
in the 80s, right?
They weren't wearing helmets, and it was the crappy little phone dip, gloves and the foot pads.
Right.
Now listen, a lot of people hate on point sparring, but I've seen people get knocked out.
Oh no, point
man.
sparring back in the day was no joke.
I'm talking about recently.
Yeah.
I've seen
The
people get knocked
championships,
out.
I don't know the exact
Doing
one,
point
but
sparring.
the one where they have the ring where it's got like that.
It was like walled.
Yep.
Oh, you talking about the Karate Combat?
Yeah.
That's
That's
they have
vicious.
they have
Oh,
a
yeah.
Taekwondo combat too.
Oh, they started that? That's pretty cool.
Even just like your local point sparring, like things like kids, like they'll knock each other out with some of
Oh,
those.
yeah,
like,
you know what you're doing.
It gets vicious.
It can get vicious. I mean, like, and you got to realize, like, the commercialization of martial arts in general, it has kind of turned the belt system, going back to that, into a joke.
It has.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, if you were to say you were a black belt, then people would be like, "Oh,
Yeah, that meant something.
Right.
70s,
Right.
80s, maybe even early 90s.
Yeah.
When you said,
I could imagine when we talked about the very beginning of this podcast when it first started, if you were that rank, like
no, that
you
was
were,
something." Now,
oh,
it's
no,
like,
that meant something.
big.
now it's
yeah.
like little Timmy. Little
Right.
Timmy can go get his black belt in a year.
You don't
Yeah,
know how
right,
embarrassing
right.
it is to be,
right. That's
Have a four-year-old
That's-
fifth degree black belt.
that's
right.
just- to me, it, like regardless if they've got skill, it's like you sent that kid. To me personally, so you sent that kid the wrong message.
Now,
Things you want take.
I
hard
have
work.
seen videos of children, and it's like, okay, you actually might be a black belt.
Some kids are very skilled.
Like, have you not
Yeah,
seen, like,
right.
especially when it comes to maybe they're training in the home country of the art,
Right.
stuff like that.
That's
Yeah.
different. Okay, let's look at, let's take some children who are really skilled, like children who grow up doing Muay Thai.
Mhm.
Those skills are they're
Well, they're
trained
fighting in-
hard.
They're fighting in Lupini Stadium at age 8, 9.
Yeah,
10.
they're already really good. Granted, I know some systems of Muay Thai have like ranking systems and things. I don't know everything.
I actually read that by the time you're 18, if you started young, you have over 100 plus fights.
I think I maybe read maybe 200.
It might be more.
That you've had that. Think about it. When
So-
you're 18,
And you started at 8.
A funny like military thing, right? Like when Navy ships were pulling in Thailand, they would have actual briefs like when you go out, do not enter these fights, because sailors they would let you enter the fights apparently, and they would tell these sailors like, do not go in that ring and fight these people, like they will mess you up, and like sailors would still try their luck and
dumb.
Did you actually see any of that?
No, I didn't. Yeah. The ship I was on, I don't know if they visited Thailand shortly after I got off or not, but I was in that general area, but I never pulled into Thailand. So, and probably a good thing, because at the time
You
I
would've
might
probably-
have been that dumb sailor. Like,
You'd be on World
let me
Star
get
right
in here,
now.
yeah. But now knowing what I know, I don't want to get kicked with one of those.
Man,
man.
listen.
And that was the thing. You get like this big sailor, right? This big American sailor, and it'd be like this half his size Muay Thai guy. He think he's gonna go in there and win. That kid would chop him down.
I saw a video of someone
Uh.
getting, the whole Muay Thai kick to the leg, and his leg almost instantly turned that purplish
Oh.
black.
Gosh.
Well, you got to realize that. I mean, and we know this. It's like, okay, if you're gonna play American football, right? Where do you want to learn American football?
In the
America.
States?
America.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do Muay Thai, where do you want to learn Muay Thai?
Thailand.
Thailand.
You talk about going to the temple, and I would love to do that one day.
Their training regimen is ridiculous.
Right.
I
we
mean,
need to get Dimitri on the podcast.
Oh,
and
yeah,
talk about
definitely.
that.
if you think you in shape,
That's
not
what
in
they
shape.
live. Yeah, they live
You're
and
not
breathe
in
it.
shape.
Right.
People think they're in shape. Oh, you look like you in shape, but you're not in shape.
Heck,
Right.
that
Go to the gym an hour a day.
Oh God, yeah,
They
that
live at the gym.
Right.
They wake
heck,
up.
that one day
yeah.
that Dimitri did us, I was like, "You did this every day?"
right, exactly. Yeah. It is rough. It is really rough. But I can see how you would one become very mentally strong and very physically strong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
And regardless, like I said, it would just be if you could train like that all the time, yeah, you'd be
Unstoppable.
a problem.
Right. That's when we, not to get too far off topic, but like when we talk about our consistency and stuff, the modern age of like how we live and we're fast paced, we got to go to work, we got to pay the bills, we got to fit in our time to work out.
Mhm.
I think about how they live. And that's why I feel like I'm never doing enough, because I want to live that way. I would like to work up. And people say you only need an hour gym. Sure, you only need an hour if you're just cranking weights. But they're not just lifting weights. They're waking up. They got a routine.
Oh, yeah.
From here to here, they're
Yeah.
gonna, right? Like they'll just stretch for this amount of time.
Yep.
For this amount of time, they're carrying buckets of water. Who knows? Now they're gonna meditate. They're gonna eat. They're gonna get back. Now they're
And
gonna
they gotta
walk
go
and
run.
run or walk down steps. So they're working different areas all day.
But
Every day.
And you think about it, these people live and breathe
Mhm.
that,
Right. Right.
and for us who are Americans, we got to work, we got kids, we got family, and martial art is something that we fit in.
Yeah.
So you imagine if you literally dedicated your life to
That's
that
right.
for like 30 years. You know what I mean? You started
Yeah.
as a child,
Yeah.
and this is what you did every day
I gotta.
till you're 30.
You also got to
Right,
look at,
right,
like,
that's crazy.
especially in China, like a lot of times when you go to like these professional martial arts schools and stuff, you're doing this so you can get national ranking within the local wushu circuit, so you can get sponsorships,
Yep.
stuff like that, or you get your coaching certification, so you can go and be told where to go by the government and go teach and make a living off it.
Yeah.
You can literally,
That's crazy.
in China, you can basically pretty much get a degree in martial arts.
All right.
Yeah, no, they have the physical cultural education center or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
You can get a degree.
There's like, I want to make a scene from a movie real quick. So, The Last Samurai.
Mm.
There's a quote, or there's not really just a quote, but there's a scene in that movie where, so the gist is this American who's got a lot of experience as war is training these guys, these soldiers who don't have any experience to fight the samurai, and he's teaching them how to use guns, and the general, I think, is like, we've got like pretty good numbers and we've got guns. Like, why are you studying and reaching so much into this? He's like, for the last 1,000 years, their occupation has been war. You know what I mean? That's what we're up against. These guys we just pulled them off the farm. So, like, it makes me think, like, when people ask me, like, does what you're learning work? And like, with everything else aside, here's what I would tell them. Like, no matter how I'm training it, like, you can learn it 1,000 ways, but I have been training to fight.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it works.
Yeah.
Like, would you, and that's not to put me on a pedestal or anything. I'm just saying, like, two guys, same height, same weight, same mentality, but one trains every week, day in, whatever, day out, and the other guy doesn't train. Who's got the advantage? The guy that trains how to fight.
Yeah, usually in that respect, the guy who's training every day should have the advantage. But, it goes back to that old quote. Would you rather be a warrior in a garden
Or a
or a
gardener,
gardener in a war?
Right.
Which one do you want to be?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be the warrior.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
right. I pray for peace, but if I have no other choice, I would have rather been training.
Yeah.
Been
Yeah.
ready for it.
Yeah. Be ready. Which is why, going back to the belt system thing, we should, as teachers, be preparing our students and being honest about them when we give them ranking
Mm-hmm.
about where they fit into the system of martial art that they're doing, so that when they go to maybe compete in something or they get in a situation that they have actual skills behind them, or they realize maybe I don't have these skills, so I need to get out of here. I'm not where I need to be, And when
Right.
you just lie to people and be like, oh, well, here's a black belt. Here you go. You can have this. Little Johnny was here for 2 years and he came to, we actually did the math on this. So if you go to, let's say you go to class every 2 weeks,
Mhm.
not every 2 weeks, excuse me. Let's say you go to class 1 hour a day, 2 times a week. Okay. That's 52 weeks in a year. So what you got? 52 times 2. What, 104?
Something like that.
Yep.
Okay. And then let's say, you know, you go to class every week and you know, your school says, oh, well, you can get a black belt in 3 years.
Just real quick to break that down, what you just said, 104 hours in a year.
Yep.
So just call it 100. You divide that by 24, almost 5, right? Those people at the temple got what you just got in a year in a few days.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like-
think about it. Right. Think about what you just said.
Right.
So when you really break down the time.
Just time training, not what you did and everything, just the time spent.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
Yeah. You literally.
in about a week, they just covered what you got in a year.
Yeah.
If
Maybe
that's-
not even a week.
Right. Maybe not even a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 104 hours, when you really think about that, that's nothing. That's a year.
Right.
All right. Now let's see what 104 times 3. So what do we got? 312?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say your school says you can get a black belt in 3 years. You train 312 hours. Not including any other extracurricular, just the base training.
hmm
How many times, and let's be honest about it, how many people are actually going to hit every single class?
Oh, yeah.
You're
Nobody.
not.
Very rarely.
You're not gonna. They're gonna hit every class. They're
No.
gonna have holidays.
Right.
Things are gonna happen. You're gonna go on trips.
Get sick.
You get sick.
Yep.
So you're telling me 312 hours, you have enough skill. What would that break down in days?
I got no idea.
I don't know.
Hold on. Let me do some
Divided by
math real quick.
24.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some math.
But
real
see,
quick.
even a 24-hour day, take eight out of that, you know,
So
because
312 divided by 24. It's 13 days.
Yeah,
So and like with no, let's say with no break,
and it's gonna, you know,
you
I don't
train
know.
for 13 days, nonstop,
right?
and you get your black belt.
Hmm.
Do you feel like that is enough time?
Heck no.
Of course not.
No,
You think about it.
it'd be more than 13 because sleep, work, etc. But still, if so, divide it by like 8.
Okay. 312 divided by 8,
Yeah,
39.
so that'd be like 39 days, 8 hours a day. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Still, that's a little over a month.
That's a month and 9 days.
If you did it
Yeah.
every day for a little over a month,
Right.
that's unheard of.
So you
Right.
imagine if you went, let's say you go to China and you go, I'm going to study at the temple for a month and 9 days.
Black belt.
You know what I'm saying?
Master.
Right. You know what I
No,
mean?
those guys have done it their whole life.
You know what I'm
and they
saying?
still don't call themselves master.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
like-
So you think about that. And then let's add in the fact that you have a child that is immature. Yeah, small kid,
right.
a 6, a 8, 9, 12-year-old, whatever. And you're like, yes, you are the black belt. Here you go.
Yeah.
Johnny can't even pee stand up straight yet.
Right. Right.
He's
Right.
still pooping in his pants. He's still got bacon strips in his drawers.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
you over here trying to give this kid a black belt?
yeah. That's where, you know, you talk about this too. It's like life experience too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Just being honest.
the bacon strip.
Yeah, you know how it is when you don't, I mean, look, let's be honest about it, right? You know children, they don't wipe their behind and then they get that bacon strip in their pants.
trust me.
Man.
Trust me. I know.
Oh
We're
my
going through it
God.
now.
I've never
Right
heard
now.
the bacon strip one.
Yes.
Oh my God.
You never heard that?
No, I've never heard that.
Yeah, bacon strips in the drawers, man.
Yeah.
But you trying to tell me this kid's gonna beat somebody up or be able to use his martial art?
Right.
Get out of here.
Right.
You crazy.
Yeah, you still
The-
the skinny
like-
skid marks?
Yeah. Those skid marks.
The life experience has to factor in. Like, it's in some way, shape, or form, it's got to, like, you know, and even for kids older than that, let's say 10, 11 years old, you know, they can go to the bathroom, but like they're still very young kids. Like,
Yeah,
you're
they're
gonna
still
tell me,
children.
like, you're gonna put them up against like even if they ain't got a belt, some like grown like football player,
No.
hand to hand combat, and like it's like you instill. I feel like maybe not all of them, of course. Everybody's raised different, but in a lot of them, it's going to put that false like confidence. Courage,
It is. It is.
You know,
I'll tell you a quick story. I love teaching at Winthrop is so entertaining because we have a lot of people that come in class.
I think
And
they know something. They
Oh
really
yeah,
don't.
it's like they want to impress you.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, so I always ask who's got martial arts experience. People raise their hand. I'm like, oh, you know, I got my black belt in this. I got my black belt in that. And a lot of these people, like,
college.
Honestly,
oh yeah,
out of how many people that you've actually come through the doors tell you that, how many of them actually have had skill?
it's very, very minimal.
Could you count on one hand?
I could probably count on one hand where I go, man, that guy was the truth, man. That guy was real. I remember there was one guy who came in class. He had gotten a black belt from one of the local schools, and he was getting his behind whipped by like.
I wonder if they sparred in that school.
And that's
didn't
it,
look
right?
like it, right?
But he's wearing his gi. He's got that belt on.
He was sharp.
No.
No,
He sucked.
He sucked.
But the thing was, like, it was just the whole fact that it was like, hey, guess what? I'm a black belt.
So
Fear me. Fear
show
me.
it. You know what I mean?
Fear
Show
the
it.
belt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know? But, or I had a young lady last semester. She had been doing martial arts. I think her dad may have been her instructor, and maybe he had a school. And she was a blue belt. And normally when you're a blue belt in anything, that normally means you've been doing this for a while.
It's about halfway for
Yeah,
most stuff.
normally. More stuff. You're usually an intermediate to advanced practitioner.
Yeah.
Well, she goes, I never sparred before. What? Huh?
Right.
Nani?
Yeah. I'm gonna say this, like, when I meet someone who has a black belt, like right off the rip, if it's that type of character, it's probably gonna go in one ear out the other. Like, I'm a black belt. If that's the first thing you tell me, it's like, cool, good for you. Like, I'm happy for you. But like, you guys are humble. But what I respect isn't just fighting ability. It's that you worked years and you stayed committed to earn that. That's what speaks to me.
Or you should have.
Or you should have.
Mhm.
Or you should have. Right. It wasn't one of
Yeah,
those
or you should
situations
have.
where you was a month and a half and you paid and you got a black belt. Like,
Yeah.
you truly earned that.
There's plenty of schools around here where you can do that.
Oh, I imagine so.
And so that's
But
why.
I would not. You should not want to earn it that way.
well, that's
Most people don't get it though.
Right.
well. That's why, like, I appreciate my, my karate instructor, and I appreciate my Sifu and stuff because they made me, go through. I had to eat bitter,
Yeah.
and then eventually I got to the point where, I didn't really care about belts.
Yeah.
I didn't care about belts. When you first start, that's kind of in your mind because that's what you think.
Right.
But as I progressed, I realized, hey, guess what? Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Worry about the skill because if
Getting better,
you
yeah.
can get better,
The belts will come.
that stuff will come later on. And
Yeah.
I don't even like to tell people that, I'm a black belt
right.
because to me, it almost puts a target on you now.
Yep.
Mm.
Yep. When I first walked through the doors, I didn't know who was who. You were the first person I came across, but we shook hands and talked for a minute. And you never, I assume, obviously, like you got a black belt because you are the Sifu. Like, and then I met Trevor, no idea, But again, the first thing out of his lips was not like, hey, I'm a black belt here. It was like, hey, I'm Trevor,
Right.
And then I come to know that, like, you were his oldest student and the show, either way, like, it's not something to boast about. It's something you should be proud of if you earned it.
Oh yeah, you
feel
should
like-
definitely
and
be
it's
humble
something-
about it.
You should be humble about it, and it's something that, like, when you show it that way, I respect that. People, I feel like, that earned it. Like, for somebody that does go and pay for that thing in a year, like, you didn't really earn anything.
Well,
You didn't really work for anything.
it's one of those things, but then it goes back to what we kind of talked about earlier. It's that marketing aspect. You've got a lot of, and this is a whole nother podcast, of course. But you've got a lot of people that have learned to manipulate these belt systems to
Have-
make money.
Have we
Join
done a
here.
McDojo podcast yet?
No, but that
Join
needs to
here,
come
get
up.
your black belt in such amount of time.
Exactly. See?
Parents will probably bring their kids
Oh,
to that.
right,
It's
right.
like,
Sign this
God.
3-year contract. Guess what? We
Black belt.
guarantee black belt in 3 years or 2 years or whatever it is.
We've had people who joined the school who came from schools like that, and then they realize, wow, everything I've done's a lie.
Listen, we've had people come from other schools that have black belts, and I'm like, you're not even. I mean, you're struggling with our white sash material,
All right, show me a 1-2.
right? You know what I mean?
Show me a jab.
And that goes to show you that, you know, just because you say you're a black belt, and that's why I say it's become a joke. And it's our job is to try to, I mean, and it's going to take years, decades, centuries probably to ever get back to the point where martial arts is respected based on ranking. And you have some systems that are doing it now, like jujitsu. Jiu-jitsu is one of the few systems that I can say, like, when you say you're a jiu-jitsu black belt, that means something that has some weight to it.
Well, I mean, I actually was watching the video recently on jiu-jitsu and whatnot, and it takes about 10 years.
Usually, yeah.
And not only that, requirements are also different between schools. Like some schools also require not only do you have to learn your set amount of techniques in class, you also have to be competing.
Yeah, and you have to actually do good.
Yes.
Like, you can't just compete. Oh, I competed. No, like, you have to like
compete and
Right.
actually
and
be able to
win
hold your own.
and hold your
whatnot.
own. Yeah, like they have, you know, but
Which I think that's for on them, that that's really good.
no, it is good
Because they're putting,
But
putting work.
you know what's starting to happen, and it happens to every martial arts. It's slowly starting to get watered down in some respects because people want to make money. People want to keep their students. People want their name out there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're starting to see people get black
Or-
belts faster.
That, also people kind of like the whole bet, what you just said with money. Some people are doing this as their livelihood.
Right.
And they gotta, I gotta pay my house payment. I gotta
Right.
buy
Right.
groceries this week.
Right.
Yeah.
It's rare to find a school that is full time that you could be like, man, those students right there, they're doing it the right way.
There are a few,
The old
but you're
school.
right.
Yeah.
They're few and
It's
far
rare.
in between.
It's rare
Yeah.
because you have to make certain, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to make certain exceptions in order to make the money.
Yeah.
And that's
Because
one
that's
reason
the thing about it is too. It is a business nowadays, especially where we're at.
it has become a business. So therefore, guess what? That's why I teach part-time,
Mhm.
because I don't ever want to make this a job.
Yeah.
I enjoy this too much. 2, I respect it too much in order to just water it down and give it away and make it, something that is not. I
Right.
want it to be real. I want it to work. And, my goal is to hopefully, pass on what I've learned to the next generation or whoever learns from me. So when they do their martial arts or they represent the school or do whatever they need to do,
Yeah.
it works, it's effective, it is alive, and it's something that you don't want to be ashamed of. You should be proud to say, oh man, yeah, I do
Yeah.
kung fu,
Right.
and my kung fu works,
Mm-hmm.
my karate works, my taekwondo works.
After right over 2 years, I feel like I'm just now getting to the point, and I still don't know if I'm worthy of it yet. But where it's like, like all those things in the movies, like, oh, you fighting? It's like, I know kung fu. I almost feel like I'm
Okay,
getting to that point
Nia.
where it's like, I know kung fu.
Okay, Neo.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Show me.
Right.
I know
Right.
kung fu.
Right.
So, guys, anything else about the advantages or disadvantages of belt systems before we wrap this up?
It's a good thing and the bad thing. It's a
Yeah.
tool.
Yep.
It can be.
Don't let it inspire like false confidence. Use it, like you just said, as a tool, something to set your sights on, and ultimately, let it keep you trying to better yourself. And that doesn't stop at black belt either.
Right. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't
it
stop
It
at black
shouldn't
belt.
stop. And
Right.
in fact, what a lot of people don't realize, like especially going to Okinawan or Japanese martial arts, Shodan basically is like saying beginning. Like
Mm.
you're just starting to
Now
learn.
you're
Even though
starting.
you just got your black belt, everybody thinks, oh, that's the end. No. That's in their
Stop.
mind, that's when you really start learning.
Mm.
Mhm.
So now you've got all the basics. You got the basics down pat.
Right.
Now we're gonna really teach you.
Mm.
So you see how it's
Interesting.
gotten kind of twisted over the years where it's like, oh, I got my black belt. So guess what?
Right.
That's almost like saying, oh man, I just graduated. elementary school.
You just graduated
Yeah.
high school and now you're going
Right.
on to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now life starts. You know,
Yeah. Now you got to go to middle school, but
Right.
so guys, I want to thank you guys for being on this podcast. This was fun. This may be a part 2 because
It's a big topic.
it's a huge topic, and
It's
it's
dense.
something. It has become a pariah in the martial arts. The belt system conundrum is just it's good and bad.
Yeah.
And we could definitely talk about this again. So I want to thank everybody for listening to our podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Remember, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We want to thank everybody for, just spending time with us. Hopefully you learned something. And if you, have a topic that you want us to discuss, leave it in the comment and on YouTube. Trust me, it helps the algorithm. And if you ever just want to just come by and visit our school, remember, we're in beautiful Rock Hill, South Carolina, the Northern Shaolin School of Kung Fu, and we're signing out. Peace.